Right, that might be interesting. Let's have a look if my audio. So now I'm going via phone. And I'm going to come back into the meeting. Let's see if that made any difference. Yeah, okay, great. So you always have to be ready for fun and games, don't you? For some reason, in all tests, this has worked perfectly. I had meetings yesterday. It was all fantastic. When it counts, when everybody's in the room, all of a sudden it seems to have shut down. And this is maybe a reasonable thing to do. I've got it on my phone as well. So right now I've audioed off everything on the laptop, on the computer. I've got my, there it goes, little phone going over there. So that's a workaround that we've got going at the moment. Obviously what you did hear earlier was the whoop, 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 whoop of feedback. So apologies for that. That's obviously not nice. And let's just have a look. So navigating, I'm glad I said 9:30. Just making sure that everything is going to work. I'm going to chat to everybody here, over here on my right, on your left. I've got Randveg saying, again, excuse me, I will pronounce it in Swedish. Randveg, are you over from 101? We haven't even started yet, by the way. Yeah, okay, good. How many 101s have we got? Is everybody managed to navigate over? I realized at about 8:30 this morning. I can't hear anything. I'm just going to make that quite clear at the moment. We're just going to find this workaround for the minute. That's me, Charlie Horse, talking in the middle. I've turned off my audio to stop any feedback because I haven't got headphones to hand. I'll have to get all my toys out. I posted the invite to go across, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. Let me talk into camera. So we'll have a look at that in a minute. I posted the invite to go from 101 to 501, purely because, not because one's better than the other, but I think it was just a case of numbers. We've got about 22 in the room, so that's great. Feel free to speak as well, by the way, perhaps even a couple of words. But today it's just, we're going to get used to the medium. I'm going to go through Canvas. I've set it so it turns off video and audio automatically when you come in for the minutes. That gives you the choice to video in or audio in these kind of sessions. Basically, there's not going to be a lot of this going on, what I would describe as teaching by telling. I'm not going to do some sort of evil criminal monologue to you. It's going to be active and you're going to be working in groups most of the time. And I'm going to show you that today, because most of the things that you're going to get lectures in from me, there's already going to be online lectures, which you can look through, and there's going to be material and stuff like that. So that's not how it's going to work. But for one day, today, and we are recording, we're going to go in and we're going to look through the Canvas facilities. We're going to look through the course syllabus, assignments, all that kind of stuff we love to look at. We're going to look at the YouTube channel and the material available and why we're going to use that. We're going to look at the Google Drive, which is linked, so you have access to last year's work and all the lectures and everything. So that's basically my sort of goal today. It's about 12:30. A little bit croaky, so don't mind the voice. Just been a little bit sort of sniffly ill at the weekend, so I'm going to do my best voice for you. So we're going to work through and share screen, and I can see there's about 25, which sounds good. That's including me as Charlie Horse, which, as you'll find out later, is my nickname. And you can find me under that on various social media if you want to. So grab yourselves a coffee. I don't really have a very formal sense of protocol, even though I'm British, I say. We want us to have fun, and this is going to be a very unusual session where I'd sort of like talk at you, but I think that's worthwhile. We're just going to go through it step for step. It's getting recorded, so you can go back and through if you need it, or if people aren't here today, because I know there's a couple of people who had some issues, then that's always going to be the same, and you'll see that as we go through the course. So let's check, first of all, what I'm sharing. And I have to go to Safari and share screen with you all. The great thing for me about having the phone on as well is I get to see the student view. So I now know that you've got a full screen view of the front page. A snatch of video there. You should have a full screen if I'm looking over there at the phone, okay, of this meeting and the invite. Zoom is brand new this year, so we just have to get used to it. It's produced another calendar in Canvas. I know many of you will already know Canvas. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to close my window. I'm going to navigate back to the start of Canvas and do essentially was that somebody flushing a toilet? Do be wary if your audio's on and you're doing weird stuff in the background. Starts with like grinding coffee or the flush of a toilet is always the classic. So what we're going to, I was actually quite enjoying that. What we'll do today is we're going to look at, it's about 9:40. We'll do a couple of sessions, which will be a chance to look through pretty much everything. And obviously you're going to get it, you can't see me right now, so you've just got the screen, which I'm happy with. I'm going to go through navigation. It's a bit awkward with these groups because we've got separate Canvas rooms, which is a bit annoying, which means I have to duplicate everything. So sometimes, you know, you might get some weirdness going on. We'll have a look at that as well today. So for no other reason, you do see us as well. Okay, I don't on the mobile version. I'm happy. I'm logged in on the mobile. Oh, I see, I've got separate screens, look. Right, yes, okay, so you can swish through. I tend to use the mobile at the same time, so I can see, look, I can see all of you. None of you have, none of us have avatars or icons. Little Katrina, you have, I can see there. So maybe we can sort that out. That's quite nice to have some kind of icon so we can see who we all are. Mine's just a horse. Okay. Lovely. Good. I'm glad you can see me. That's nice. You can see me. This is my room. I'm in Gothenburg. Perhaps I should introduce myself. My name's Charlie, known as Charlie Horse. I am British, Swedish in nationality. I live in Gothenburg. I teach here at Chalmers University of Technology in the Department of Communication and Learning for Science. Chalmers is a great university, not 100 top 100 ranked, but quite highly ranked. I am an associate professor at USN of English, specializing in literature, but I also teach linguistics, and I also teach over in Bergen, and might be a visiting scholar at Aalborg in Denmark as well this term. So I'm spread quite widely. So we're in 501. I'm going to start off by just going in through Canvas and having a look and trying to make this just a nice little run through. What we say in Swedish is soft start, and this is really what it is going to be today. I wanted to get just some of the stuff of going through, you know, just details, how it works, looking at the Canvas room. You can get up and walk away. It's all right. It's going to be recorded. It's a good chance for us to get used to Zoom. And so we'll do a quick session. I'll get as far as I can. We'll have a break. Just butt in at any time. Then towards the end as well, we'll talk about methodology as we go through this a little bit, just to begin with, because this is an online course. So when you go into home on Canvas, I'm on the 101s. Hopefully this is, let me go to a student view quickly. Student view, commence. There it is. So I can see what you see. As you can see already, I like to sometimes do stop me. I can over communicate. I even shared the song that I will now be singing all term, Fat Larry's Band, a classic, Zoom, Chase the Day Away. Hope you check that out. Do be singing that. Perhaps we can maybe do a musical version of it later, a bit of musical theatre. Why not? You can't see, I've got loads of guitars and musical instruments around me as well. I used to be a bit of a involved in music, so it's one of my big sides that I like with English, is to do drama and film and music and song. So be afraid, be very afraid. So you start on, if we navigate to home and go into the syllabus, and we get a picture of Rodin's Thinker there, to really sort of represent the fact that we want to be active in our learning and use our higher order thinking powers. And that's what we're looking for here. We're not looking for rote learning or just reproducing what's in a textbook. The idea is for you to be active and to produce your own knowledge, okay, and your own narrative. And cannot stress that enough, because there's so much science and evidence which points to the fact that that is how learning occurs, the hard way. So here, past that as well, we've got some details which I'll look down on the syllabus about the fact that you can subscribe to the calendar, and therefore everybody will get the same updates into their phone, goes the phone at the same time. So there are too many calendars here with time edit, and Canvas has a calendar, and then obviously we produce course overviews, and now Zoom has a calendar. So this is a chance to everybody to subscribe to one, and I will, if there are any changes, it will happen instantaneously to everybody. Here we're over in English 1 for primary years, as I've sort of cheekily renamed it, 1 to 7. And on the other side, we've got English 1 for secondary years, 5 to 10. There are different ways of expressing that in different contexts, whether it's Great Britain, America, Australia, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, or in international schools, of course. And you've got two teachers. You've got Erica, who's a permanent member of faculty, associate professor. She'll be coming in next week for the course meet, as I'm going to call it, or course meeting. And she's going to kick you off next week. We'll look at that as we go through the syllabus at 10 o'clock on Monday morning. Make it so. I'll re-emphasize that later. The start is 10 to give a little bit of extra time. And me as well there, Charlie Keeling. And as I said, I think I'm 50 or 60% at the moment at USN. So mostly because I also, as you can probably guess, I live in Sweden. So I tend to sort of be at different institutions. Just coming down as well, see below for course dates and assignments. minor changes may occur before course kickoff. I'll add to that the fact that we will change things once we've met you, I think, anyway. I think that the learning process needs to be negotiated, that we need to have a feedback loop, and that therefore, if when there are assignment times, if you guys need to negotiate that, I think that's a good process. There might be some set deadlines, but we've got a sort of course overview, and that tells us what we're going to do. But perhaps we might need to swap around. We might feel that we need to change the sequencing or spacing, which would be spacing and interleaving are the technical terms you tend to use for how you sequence education. There'll be more of that later. I'm into my theory, but we basically got 20 sessions, which is teacher led, and then I've put in student led sessions, not today, and that's in your afternoons on your Tuesdays. I could even point out there as well, I just don't believe starting at 8 o'clock in the morning is good for anybody. Maybe that says more about me than it does about you, but I think a lot of you may have, like me, children, might have things that you need to organize early in the morning or late in the afternoon. So moreover, I think that the whole internet thing, the screen stare, you won't be doing this a lot, you'll be working in groups, but it's not productive to do it for more than 4 or 5 hours a day. I really think when we've done tests, often after 2 o'clock, nothing goes in anymore. So we've set times for 9:15, which means 9:15 to really start at 9:30. Okay, so there's that sort of what we call an academic quarter in Swedish. So that's the sort of thing. We've got a kind of a 2 to 2.25 hour session in the morning, normally a 45-minute lunch. And then what I've set aside for the afternoon is 12:30 to 2:30. And that's generally student-led, unless where I've timetabled other activities. So you can do your work, your group work, your peer assessment in the afternoons, but we'll be done at 2:30 on all days. And ostensibly, long word, sorry, basically, what we want to be, because it's an online course, is super flexible. Come on. So if you're working in groups and you need to reschedule, that's absolutely fine. And what we use is I use Google Drive, which is linked in here. So it means you can set up work in Google Drive, share it with me. I'll be able to see that you're working. I'll be able to comment in real time. And we set up a file which you can edit for task completion as well, which we'll have a look at in a minute. And that means that basically, as far as I can see it, get that view nicely, is that we're all adults and we're all people with lives, and therefore I don't think that we need to, though you do register, look at attendance. It's really nice, and I expect it as a courtesy that you can tell me that maybe you've got another course meeting in Nortodden, or you're doing this or that, whatever. But as long as you do the work, and generally there's one major task for each session, and your assignments, then that for me is equal to course completion, because all the online sessions are recorded and available. All the lectures I do are already available with all the PowerPoint material. So there's no reason why you can't organize yourselves. As a concept, that's called self-regulated learning. And it's something I'm very big on. So I need to, as your course organizer, facilitate that for you. So I can even, let's have a look. I've got a couple of bits here as well. Yes, let's take it in a row. Why not, I say. So if I click this, hello, just going to look down there, over there at my phone, just to see who's seeing what. I do have some issues with Google Drive, that some of its formatting goes a bit weird, but this is supposed to be a live text. So I hope you can bear with the foibles, the sort of idiosyncrasies of it. Like here, sometimes the task section, which you can see there, yeah, I'm going to point at the screen and then show something down there, is not in line. So sometimes it's a bit annoying, but for me, the Google Drive and using online real-time editors allows you to work in groups and for me to give you very specific feedback and assessment, which I think is really, really positive. So the overview, I'll also produce a standalone document once we're pretty happy with it and just sort of pop it up there in the Drive, or you can go to the Drive, as I'll show you in a while. It looks at your 20 sessions, which is standard for a course like this. It outlines content, which will be matched in the Canvas syllabus. So you should also get the meetings in your phone with what's going to go on. And there will be a task list, which more or less, for me, when I run my sessions, we tend to do some sort of pre-task. You can see this down here as well. Let me just, if you follow the finger, look at the cursor. I tend to run what's called TBL, and I'll mention that again later, task-based learning or problem-based learning, where we go pre-task, where we sort of ask questions and think about our expectations or discuss things in small groups. We then go into a main task, which is the task that you would then complete either individually or even better in a group if you can't attend. So say, I think, not next week, but the week afterwards, there are some people who are going to be doing another course meet in Notre-Dame. You guys can audit the lessons because you're busy elsewhere. You can look at the lecture recordings. You can see the task list for me. If you're not there, you can still complete and look through the content, the reading, and you can do what I would call is autonomous or self-regulated learning. And then you can hand it in to me, into the Google Drive. So I'm very flexible on that, as long as we all are organized and we all can then report that we've done our tasks. And then I tend to have a post-task there, as you see here as well. So if I look at today, we've got content and it's intro, teachers, course overview, which is what we're doing now. We'll look at course requirements, assessments. We'll look through the YouTube channel, which is public access, so you don't need to log in. And also you can add to it yourself. That's the important thing to remember. I have student work up there, which is private, because we used that and everybody logged in last year, but logging in can be a little bit messy. So we're trying a different tack this year. But it means that if you do find stuff when we're discussing picture books or classroom practice, please post it, because it's fun to sort of share and see what everybody's looking at. Or if maybe, say, I've posted something about motivation, which is going to be a massive issue this year, as you can see in my first session, then that'd be great if you find other stuff, post it up there, and we can have our own sort of knowledge bank. That's the sign for knowledge bank. Yay! Then obviously we're looking, this is Zoom, welcome, and it seems reasonably intuitive. I'm really enjoying it at the moment, that's great. We'll also look today, I think, and I'll show you, Google Scholar, because I'd like you all to just get yourselves a profile and get going. Why? The reason why that is because if you look down here, the next thing is reading, and we'll look through the reading lists. If we take, for an example, your session with me on Monday, well, we're going to do classroom practice 1. And we're going to say, our line of inquiry is, our problem is, what kind of classroom do we want to create as an environment, as teachers? What do we want from the students, or what do we want for the students, even more, I'd say. And so that's what we're going to do. It's like a sort of problem-based session. We're going to discuss it. We're going to look through some material. We're going to produce something, and we're going to share it together. We'll be looking at motivation, creativity, perseverance, and emotion. Oh yeah. So then over there for the reading, we've got the course reading, which I've put in, and Erica will be doing hers. If not, I'll fill it in there for Erica as well. So you should have tasks and reading here as well. We've got the course books, and we'll look through that again. So I know that you're going to have those. I normally put in the chapters, and all the PowerPoints and previous lectures as well. Some of them even work through sections of these two excellent books that you have for 2 terms. But I also add in my sources, okay? Thinking long term. Doesn't mean you have to go away and read all of these, but what I have done is I've basically put in some articles. They are, as you can see down here, all available on Google Scholar, which we'll have a look at today. And it just gives you, for me, the main theorists that you can then draw upon and really sort of get involved. So obviously this is kind of like extra stuff. You have to get used to the fact that as a scholar, you maybe don't have time to read all of this stuff, but there's a summary. You can get an idea of it. You might be able to extract a citation or quotation that you can use later as well. So when I put these in here as well, these are sort of on top of the standard reading, and they're going to link back into, as you can see over there, what we do in the course. And we're going to do picture books, module 1, which we'll look at in modules, classroom practice, which is module 2, but they are interleaved. So we want them to interact with each other as much as possible. And you can see here that we'll be doing things like film and drama and music, as well as academic writing, which is obviously, I think it's really fun. But perhaps we can get Erica to do some film projects on academic writing. That would be pretty cool. Then we go on to language learning and language acquisition, which is a much funkier name for things like grammar and vocabulary. And you're going to be doing that with me. And what else do we have as well? We've got, that's module 4, isn't it? With academic writing, picture books, classroom practice. So you can look through all that, through the sessions, up to 20. And where they're not complete at the moment, don't worry, that's because perhaps we want to change some of the tasks as we go along. We want to be receptive to how you gel and work as a group. Cool, so let me come out of that. That was course overview. It's an editable doc. You can even comment on it. It's right there. It's on the Google Drive as well, which you'll see in a minute. And so Google Drive you should be linked into, shouldn't be there. And that will update here. I will update it to the course summary syllabus down here as well. So also on that, in English 1 overview, is this very incomplete document. I'm still like trying to get my head around how I'm going to do this best. But there will be a task completion, you can see there, Excel basically, which you yourselves will be responsible for. So I don't have to go in and chase after people as well. Basically, you yourselves can report if you're in groups and you're in different groups. You'll be able to put down your names or what the group is. I'll put a task description over in here, as you can see there. Yeah, yes. And for each session, there will be a task, which basically means, normally, nearly every year, something happens. Life is what happens when you're planning. and that generally will happen for some people at certain points. Do not worry, even if you are indisposed for a couple of weeks or even a month, you can still keep up or catch back up as well. And you can do it individually if you have to. Some people, when they've, something's happened, they've had to miss a few weeks, and we've somebody gave birth last year on this course, and was definitely away for a little bit, though actually did one session with a baby. That was so cute. But you can catch up individually if it's really stressful. If not, the best way to do that is to self-organize, self-regulate, and use those terms again, in with groups, because there's always, a percentage who maybe have other stuff or things happen. We've all got kids as well, and we know what that means. Well, not all of us, but many of us will have children. So that's right up there on side one as well, on both sides, same document. Okay, I don't know exactly how it's going to look, and you don't have tasks to complete yet until next week. So, for example, if I think we had somebody last year who their car broke down on the way to session one in Notodden, and göteborgska, jag ska säga det på göteborgska, Notodden. Sorry. Then obviously you could still feasibly on Monday, Tuesday be part of the lesson. That's fine. The phone works, yeah, and you can listen in. You can also buddy up if you, for some reason, couldn't be physically there at a course meet. There's the possibility that you could buddy up with somebody who's going to be in a group, and then you just work with their group as well. And if they're doing drama, you'd say, oh, what can I do? I can't participate. Wrong. Of course you can participate. There's scripting, there's research, looking things up, organizational. There are different roles within all the projects we're going to do. And so you can always participate to the best of your ability. So that takes us to task completion. Just keep an eye on the time as well. And we're up at 10 o'clock. So we'll have a break at about 10:15. I mean, this is much longer than I would normally speak at any point. The subject description, emneplan, is there. Bang on the first side. So you can go through and they match, basically. 501 and 101, they just specify that there's going to be specific stuff for each of the areas. And I will try and represent that as much as I possibly can, mostly through active learning and having differentiated groups, and through a process of inquiry and problem-based solving. I suppose the important thing with this is, obviously we've got, I'm not going to go through this because I think you can just read it yourself. You will understand that it's going to be interwoven. We have got learning outcomes, goals or objectives, which we'll be touching on in classroom practice on lesson design and assessment. And I think the most important thing is this bit down here. Hello, look. It's always going to be, the most important point is the fact that, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I expect everybody to do all the tasks, or at least 80% of the tasks, which would be like attending 80% of the 20 sessions. That's number one, okay? Because that for me would also, let's say you've done 80% of those tasks, that's basically attendance for me, that you've shown that you've been through the material, you've been through the problem-based learning cycle, you've produced the task. But what we also do have, and where's that? That should be somewhere down there. That's it. Hello, there it is. Course requirements. Arbetskrav, säger vi i Göteborg. One is oral. And so what we're doing is we're combining a text with an experience sharing or presentation of that text in a seminar. So it's basically one course requirement. just to simplify the process here. We've used all sorts of things in previous years, but I'm a little bit more concerned about quality over quantity. So I'm just going to try and compress that this term, and then we'll see it in a minute in the syllabus as we go through it. Let's have a look here. Inget som struktur och systemdel 1. That sounds very exciting, doesn't it? What a snappy title. We've got a written exam at the end, which is 45%. That written exam is primarily for classroom practice, module 2, excuse me, and for English language learning and acquisition, module 4. So those are my bits primarily. And what we're going to work on there is how we're going to basically teach language, but do it in the most motivating and creative way possible, which means this written exam is not something to be terribly scared of, because it's not going to be, there will be no yes/no answers on it. It's not a knowledge test of what I would call inert knowledge, you know, basically learn some facts and then reproduce it. That's not what we're going to do with that. We'll be looking at assessments, we'll be looking at being able to teach, you know, grammar and vocabulary, but to do it in context and to do it in a fun, engaging, active and motivating way. And then the other thing that's quite important, obviously, straight up, is there's a presentation portfolio, what we call MAPA, and that's 55%. And here we've got 3 texts. The first one, I think it's nominally called The Good English Teacher. I might change that slightly, you know, basically to say what kind of practice, classroom, teaching and learning do we want. It's the same as that first session with me, so we'll look through that. But that's your oh, sorry, still up. That's your arbetskrav, or sorry, my Norwegians. I'm not going to embarrass myself at this stage. So it's actually part of your course requirement, your first little seminar. It's not a presentation, don't worry. And then you're going to do 2 more texts, one of which is kind of more academic writing, a little bit more. So this one could be semi-formal, formal. Then your third one is going to be very strongly integrated with your teaching placement, which we'll talk about later. And that will be more sort of observation of practice. So again, linked back to classroom practice and what we've been doing. You'll be able to choose 2 out of those 3. You will be able to get, I think, teacher assessment on 2 out of those 3. You will have peer assessment on 3 out of those 3. And in the end, you choose 2 of those, and they go in as 55% as your presentation portfolio. So there we go. That's that bit. I'm going to get rid of the Emneplan at this stage. Goodbye, you. Goodbye, dear friend, I say. And before we go down, we're going to have a look here, and we will go through all of these. The navigation column on the left over there. There it is, down there. There's the fella. Just have a look down here as well on the course summary. Oh, that was scary. Now, the course summary, time edit seems to stick stuff in, which is a bit weird. But then I've outlined our sessions, our dates, and I think, I'm just going to double check this. If I click into that, you can see what the content is, and this content would then copy to your phone if you subscribe. So you can see over there, it should be teacher content, any preparation necessary, could be tasks as well. So that should come with each calendar event. And if I look over here, Yes, there it is. So down there, there he is. Watch the cursor. Lovely. Is the calendar feed. If I click on that, zippity doos, there it is. I can then copy that into Google, iCal, Outlook, etc. So I would do that basically, and that means you'll instantly have everything straight into your calendar of choice. And then if I update anything or if there are any changes, they will be done in this. Okay, I'm not going to hand out Word documents and send them around to everybody or whatever. It's going to be done live in the calendar there. So you can see here, I'm going to just go back because it's easiest to look at the sort of vertical view we've got here. And so, why not? Let's have a little run through. I think we've got time. Last thing now, we'll just run through this. So as you can see, we start off here at the intro. Good place to start, I feel, always. I like to start at the beginning. Though, as you'll probably see next term, literature doesn't always, later. Then Monday, August the 26th, we kick off in our course meet, which for me is going to be pretty much all just doing stuff, okay? And that's pretty much how this course pans out. It's just like, doing stuff in group work nearly the whole way through. Explanations we can stop and go back to, but most of the material is online, and most of the sort of foundational source material, interviews, explanations are all online as well. So we've got session 1 on the Monday. It's 10 to 12:30, so we're starting late to give people as much time. I'll be driving from Sweden, which is about, I think, 5 hours potentially, depends on traffic, but that includes going through Oslofjorden under the tunnel, and then the road I have to drive, the road to Notodden is, if you get stuck behind something, what can you do? And then you're with me in the afternoon. So it is quite a late lunch. Be prepared for that, please, because I wanted to give Erica enough time for her session. If you're done in 2 hours, that's fine as well. Bless you, my child. And sorry, just hear the coughs. Then you're with me in the afternoon for classroom practice 1. That's going to be high octane. And I've put aside 2.5 hours, which for me is the maximum for any one session, because I think there's a point at which productivity goes over into loss of focus. And there's often a tendency to do very long sessions on course meetings, but there's lots of other things we need to do. So we're going to do that first session, and then traditionally on the Monday night, hopefully you might elect a class representative if this is your first meet. And on Monday, I mean, surely beer o'clock. It should be to some degree. Last year we went to I've forgotten the name of it already, but we went to somewhere in town right next to the Notodden Hotel and had beers and some food. And I think social is definitely called for, as it's, for me, probably the most important component of learning. So I'll leave you guys to do that. You're probably going to have an elect a class representative, set up a Facebook page or whatever. So maybe we could have some kind of, just whether it's beers, if we don't want to eat, that's also fine, or just a hangout or whatever would be cool. So we'd have time there to close at 4 and then go out afterwards, and be up bright and bushy-tailed the next morning. Of course, I'm not encouraging you to go out drinking. Stop that. Then on day 2, we start a bit earlier at 9:15. Again, civilized timing. Erica's driving from Oslo, so she's not going to be there till 10. But I'm going to do the morning session, and I'm going to set up my afternoon session. Do any more sort of stuff about digital resources and working, active learning, any questions as well. So we'll do like an early session with me, then you get Erica, and then you'll finish off with me. Tuesday afternoon, 2:30. So that's the end of that. Will be definitely done by 2:30, which is why I'm stealing some of the morning to make sure I'm set up properly, because we'll probably be doing some kind of film or drama project, mini project. We want to be able to get to some sort of conclusion, and then people have time. I know there are buses going at about 3, for example, so I want to have like a nice little margin there. After that, I'm going to go on slight fast forward so I can send you off to a break. Is what happens is you get Erica and myself interleaved through the weeks. So you're doing subjects spaced, going back from one to the other, hopefully reconceptualizing and then being integrated. In the afternoons, you will note then the sessions are all 9:15 to 11:45. That's lunch. We don't go later than 11:45. We normally do a warm up, a break, a task, a break, and then some sort of reflection or a sort of problem finding session at the end. Lunch is 45 minutes, and then what we have for you in the afternoons is your student-led activities. So in session 1, it's just reading and study, so you've got time to maybe think about organizing yourselves into groups. Perhaps you can get a lot of your work done during that session when you're there. On the next one, you're given time specifically for writing portfolio text 1, and I would strongly recommend that social learning component of doing it together in groups. People will be different, but I will say right now that I'll be using Richard Bound's book, Make It Stick, and you can see it's in the reading. What he calls learning the hard way is well worth considering, and we'll touch on that later, which is sometimes what you think is the easiest method for you is effective because you get your work done more quickly, doesn't necessarily lead to greater learning. And we'll go through our sessions. I'm going to speed up here. You've got a course requirement here with your first text, The Good English Teacher. I'm not very happy with that title. That's from somebody else. We might change that slightly. And you do a text, and you're going to have some kind of peer assessment, and then you're going to present it as well in some way, which is going to be a very free choice, including digital resources. So you could even do a film with your text, you know, really whatever. And you'll get the idea after the course meet for this, that we can do whatever we want in production. I'm going to fast forward now. The sessions are there, all interleaved, classroom practice, language learning, and acquisition. Then we get all the way through to afternoon, where we do teaching placement preparations, portfolio text to hand in. But again, this is negotiable, so do not worry. If the whole group's struggling, we'll just give you more time. You then go to your practicum, teaching placement for 2 weeks. Is that correct? Can you just confirm that for me? Because I had to write to somebody and they mailed me back. It's weeks 45 and 46, isn't it? Tell me so if not. If it's not, then I'll be feeling a bit silly. But everything else about the course is exactly the same week. So you've got that gap there. And then you might be different weeks. Okay, that's something that might then be rejigged. Do wait. I put those in there at the moment. We might have to just mess around with that at that point then. We may even be on different weeks. We'll find out. Is it the weeks afterwards? Okay, well that's good, because week 47 I'm in York, so that would be great. If that's the case, then obviously what we'll do is we'll make sure that you get everything done. Then you'll come back and really we'll just be doing reviews if it's as late as 46, 47. I'll confirm that by Monday, and we'll have those lessons just slightly rejigged for you. Then we go through to the end, and we end up with, I've left sessions free at the end for either, whether we can give you last help with your presentation portfolio texts, And also I'll probably run a practice exam with you for the written exam. So you know exactly what to expect. You'll have previous year's exams and we'll actually go through it together. So you're all super well prepared. Yes, there we go. Okay. Whew. Wow, my word. Honestly, I've talked for way too long. So we're going to have a break there. When we come back, we'll look at the modules organization. We'll double check assignments. We can look at grades or people. The people I don't think we need anymore. We'll look at the Google Drive. We'll look at YouTube. We'll look at the reading. And I will show you Google Scholar. And we can come back to any of this in that early session on the Tuesday at the meet. But for the moment, I really think that everybody should stand up, do some press ups, sing a song, or go and do something different for a minute. So it's 20 past. Let's reconvene at 10:35, 15 minutes. 15 minutes, okay? I think 50 minutes is fine. 15 minutes, so let's say 10:35 for a start at 10:40. So we've got that 5-minute little buffer, all right? So go and have a break and I will leave the meeting open. I'm just going to mute my audio and I'll see you back here. You can enjoy my plants and some of my other objects if you want. Have a lovely break. Back to you in 15 minutes. Make it so.